I gotta say, I mean, I don't agree with what he has to say.
Mm-hmm.
But from that article that I read, I was like completely ready to, you know, really fight back. But he came here and he gave his case. I thought he gave it very well. I don't agree, but
Yeah, I was ready. I was ready.
I was.
I was like on trying to like say. I thought you were gonna jump at him
There was a little
much
bit where I
more.
was trying to get something, but he was ready and he was good and he put his points forward and I'll hand it to him for that, definitely.
Well, all of these debates, what was happening is it's like, how do you set the parameters of what you're talking about? And if you pretty much say, you know, well, you may not like that courts haven't heard it, but they haven't heard it. So that's it. There's nothing, nothing to see here. And you may not like how, and I actually think every time when I talk with Bill, I was thinking of like Chris Hayes has this idea of institutionalists versus insurrectionists. And institutionalists basically, they fundamentally trust in our institutional frameworks. And insurrectionists, kind of don't. And, I think for us, like, I mean, I'll speak for me personally. I don't see like, I know Edward Snowden says something like the architecture of oppression or whatever. And I don't see that. What I see is a massive boondoggle filled with contractors responding on a scale to a real threat, but in a completely disproportionate way that could be easily abused. I mean, one of the things I didn't bring up because again, we don't know this stuff, but like, the NSA coordinates with the British, equivalent of the NSA.
There's a story that just came out
Well,
where the Dutch a former Dutch intelligence analyst with their intelligence firm, intelligence agency AIVD, he said they could request the PRISM data and 5 minutes later they'd receive it from the U.S.
Well, and in the British case, it's possible. Again, this is speculation, but it's not baseless speculation. If you looked at the British equivalent of the NSA, which we'll get to in a second with these new disclosures, like they work closely. They might say you could call up Britain and say, hey, are you monitoring these calls we can't make in the United States? Yeah. Can we take a look at them? Sure. Are you monitoring these calls in Britain that we can't monitor? There's all of these endless loopholes. And I got to say, I think that the assertion that there's a bunch of foiled plots that the NSA can't disclose or the intelligence apparatus can't disclose because of security considerations, incredibly hard pill to swallow. I mean, the amount of security successes that have been leaked that make everybody look good, including stuff now that's getting, things that were leaked about Bin Laden, the Bin Laden raid, using like fake polio vaccine doctors. Polio vaccine doctors are getting killed in Pakistan like right now because of those leaks. So I think that's really dubious. If there was a clear case where this actually did it, we would have heard about it.
I wanted to bring up. He almost went there at the end, but he didn't quite, so I didn't bring it up. But you can't say that these leaks disclose information that is detrimental to national security, destroys these programs. I mean, he almost went there with the stupid terrorist thing who used their phone. But that's not quite the same. But and then saying that, but we all knew about this anyway. I mean, you can't say that. You
No,
just
that's
can't.
a mutually contradictory position. I mean, that's absolutely true. And then, but the only thing I would say in defense of that position is, if we learned anything from all of these FBI cases against these complete morons, for these ridiculous terrorist attacks, that there are a lot of really stupid aspiring terrorists out there.
Yeah, but you know what? I think they'll screw up somewhere else if they didn't screw up by using their phone.
Right.
I mean, no, but also, I mean, I didn't bring this up with him too because he's very specific with not conflating things, so I didn't even want to bother with that.
Right.
Which is kind of, I mean, that's the way you get around.
That's the whole
things.
tactic.
Yes,
If you can close, and I feel like that was the whole debate. We kept trying to open it. And he kept trying to constrain it.
Michael actually warned me about this. Almost all of my points had to do with. He was able to skirt by saying the conflating thing.
They were all great points. Yeah. It's just that's the tactic.
But when you think about Quest, which I mentioned last week, CEO did not want to. In 2001, CEO of Quest, which was a phone company that had contracts, a telecommunications company that had contracts with the United States government, but they also had their own customer base, the government asked them to take part in their phone records program. I'm not sure if it was the same thing they're running now, but it's something similar, I'm sure. And the CEO checked with his law counsel, and they said you don't have to do this. And so he declined to help them out. And so they said fine. They canceled all their government contracts with Quest, the company, and they proceeded to look into this guy and argue that he traded company stock based on insider information of knowing about those private government contracts, which they canceled, and they sent him to prison for 7 years. I mean,
Yeah.
if you just take that and take, okay, even if you don't want to say, okay, Obama's not going to do that, or this guy was partaking in something illegal to begin with, he just happened to get caught after, getting on their grid. I mean, but look at all this extra information they have now. How easily would it be for some, even if you don't believe Obama's going to do it, let's go with this argument that some future president
Absolutely.
will use this information for some other person, some other CEO, some other anyone who, say you're a person and you don't want to help out in some case because you feel like you don't have a place to do this. And they go, you know what? We're going to look back at your information. If we find any sort of law you're breaking, we're going to hold you against that. I mean, there's how many federal laws do you break a day without even knowing? How many laws in general do you break a day without even knowing? Now,
You probably should know that urinating on the subway tracks is illegal, Matt.
okay, thank you. No, but I mean, there's a
Sorry.
lot of
No,
laws
no,
people
I-
break every day that they don't know they're breaking. Now, imagine you tweeted or sent a Facebook message to someone stating something about that. They could use this against you in the future. You don't know who's going to get a hold of this information, even if not that small. Let's say you're a CEO and you also don't want to go this route. I mean, Twitter's not taking part in this prison program because they feel very strongly about user privacy. Let's say the CEO of Twitter sent some messages to someone overseas, and then they found out that person received some sort of financing for his company from some shady group that could be linked with some sort of terrorist group. They could use that to connect the dots.
Well, I'll give you an example right now. I mean, Al Gore has been really critical of this program. He called it not really the American way, and his first tweet when this was first disclosed was that this was obscenely outrageous. Now, he sold Current to Al Jazeera, which is going to be Al Jazeera America, which I'm incredibly excited about. I think that's going to be a great network. Now, Al Jazeera is based in Qatar. The Qatari government, we have great relations with them. They do a lot of stuff that we like in the region. Well, Qatar also funds, groups like Hamas. You could do a case. I mean, that being exactly the point. You can draw all of these tenuous connections. You can make all of these, really, and it already happens. And I think that was the other, but at any rate, I mean, I think we got. I think we pinned him down on some
I also
things.
couldn't really, again, another thing, because
Yeah.
he would have been able to. He can't say these things haven't happened. Like he was saying, like, oh, there's no proof we gave information to FBI or NYPD. There's no proof we used this
Right.
against Occupy or environmentalists or animal rights groups. But there's no proof that this program has actually stopped any terrorism.
I did say that to him. I did say that to him. Yeah.
But I mean, he didn't really. He kind of avoided that with the but anyway,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say that, especially when that information is coming from the same people who do the program. I mean, we're not being told by some outside group or some secondary government group that no, actually this does. The NSA is saying this what we do works. I mean, obviously you're gonna say that.
No, I mean, I think, again, you're totally right. I think what's good about that debate, and I think we were able to, pin him on some things, and I think that what's good about it is, it's good to get the smartest articulation of the opposing viewpoint.
And that's definitely
even
what
if you think
yeah.
it's a completely disingenuous argument, that's going to be like when you talk to somebody who doesn't just go 9/11. I mean, he kind of was just saying.
I mean, that's why we had,
he was fundamentally just saying 9/11, but there was a lot of steps that got there, and those steps are important.
Speaking of 9/11,
Yeah.
I'm sure this wasn't his doing and more the week's doing, but
Yeah.
his article, "The Liberal Case for High-Tech NSA Surveillance," the main photo, and this type of stuff bothers me so much,
Right.
is a photo of the Twin Towers being hit by the planes. I mean, come on now. If that isn't like, Bush Fear Tactics 101, Bush Era Fear Tactics 101, I mean, come on now. The liberal case for I mean, again, this isn't Bill Scher's doing, but I mean, his argument obviously gave the photo editor, the editor of the week, let's use this. It works with his article.
No, and it's really crass, and and again, like, the whole intelligence failures and system that led to 9/11 happening, or is it just a completely is a totally different conversation. But anyways, there you have it, folks.